What Joe Biden, Mitch McConnell, Republicans, and the Democrats are doing is wrong, and they know it's wrong. They fear you figuring that out and trying to stop them, or worse, hold them accountable. An all-powerful government, powerful enough to give you everything you want, never delivers. But with that power that we foolishly gave them, they can take everything you have. Your liberty, security, and prosperity. At bottom, the big government movement is one of cowardice. It can't be allowed to bring down this last best hope of mankind on earth. So I want you to support Article 5 Convention of States. Support your state leaders who are pushing back on federal tyranny. Support law enforcement who are currently under attack by the press and the degenerate left. Your federal government has abused its power. It's time we rein them in so we can remain free. Let's run some of this by our first guest, Georgia Congressman Rick Allen. Congressman, nice to have you. The DOJ and the FBI did not treat President Trump and Joe Biden equally, sir. Currently, the corrupt government is allowing Biden lawyers without security clearance to comb through these classified documents that Joe Biden illegally took from his time as Obama's VP. There was no raid of Joe Biden's homes. There were no photos of the tranches of classified documents that the FBI did to Trump, but are refusing to do to Biden. And now the DOJ has appointed, sir, a special counsel by the name of Her, who was one of these principal pushers of the Russia collusion hoax. Presumably, he's going to bring that same level of dishonesty to this so-called investigation of Joe Biden. Conventional wisdom says this is all being done to thwart Republicans like you, sir, and your investigations into Mr. Biden. Question, will you let it?
No. This administration does not want to be held accountable. Neither does the FBI. Neither do our intelligence agencies. And again, all we ever hear is cover-up lies. And as far as the morning, Joe, that was a great monologue, by the way. Americans have two basic rights that no other nation has that has made this country what it is today. First is the right to own property, and second is the right to protect it. We can never let those two liberties leave this land. We must hold these people accountable. What Biden has gotten away with in this last 2 years, where they've had total control of the House, the Senate, or some control of the Senate and the White House, we've never seen before in this country. And now, for some reason, they believe that they're on the right track. The problem is their policies are terrible. They're terrible for the economy. People are hurting out there. And frankly, I don't quite understand why it didn't show up at the ballot box. But I think it's going to eventually happen.
Well, maybe the pain hasn't cranked up enough, courtesy of the left wing. Your political opponents are the Democrats.
Yeah, absolutely. And they pumped a lot of money into the economy to keep people out of work. I mean, what they're doing from an economic standpoint makes no sense. Money in the economy. They're creating all this debt. Then the feds have to securitize the debt. And that's the perfect recipe for inflation. And let me tell you, inflation is very difficult to get under control unless you stop government spending, unleash our energy economy and our entire economy, and then get rates at a level people can afford it.
Right. Well, let's talk about that, Congressman. The federal debt is set to top $31.4 trillion on Thursday. And here's Biden blaming Republicans for being fiscally demented while claiming his radical spending lowers the deficit. Watch this.
And we're making this progress at the same time, reduce the deficit. You know, they're going to talk about big spending Democrats again. Guess what? I reduced the deficit last year, $350 billion. And this year, federal deficit is down $1 trillion plus. Hear me, that's a fact. And there's going to be hundreds of billions reduced over the next decade. But so what? These guys are the fiscally demented.
Yeah, Congressman, Everything he
Chris,
just said. I mean, I didn't think it was possible to put so many lies in one 34-second soundbite, but he managed to do that.
Yeah, let's go back to pre-COVID. Okay, when we were in the majority since 2010, and we capped discretionary expenses under Obama in exchange for the debt ceiling vote. Discretionary spending, while we were in the majority, did not increase $1, not $1 prior to COVID. So what Biden is just talking about is he's $400 billion above the last discretionary budget and appropriations package that Republicans voted for. $400 billion.
Yeah, yeah.
And he, and I don't know what he's talking about. I mean, obviously during COVID.
Well, Congressman, I can break it all down for you. Democrats and with Republican votes, I've got to be honest about that too. They raise spending. Folks, it's at home. Say you make $10 a week, and all of a sudden you spend $100. Right? You spend $100 way out of your budget for some sort of an emergency. Then the next week you spend only $50. And then you say, well, see, I cut my deficit. I cut the deficit by half. It's all accounting gimmicks. It's not real. What Joe Biden neglects to address is that he's spending more money than the American people bring into our government, and that has never, ever stopped, and it's got to. Congressman, last question I have for you. Last week, the House voted to cut back billions to the IRS. They also voted to protect babies who survived Democrat abortion attempts. Now, that's all well and good. But as you know, those bills are going to die in the socialist-controlled Senate. If the Republicans want to show me and the country something, these measures should be attached to what they call must-pass bills, the way the socialists pushed their radical agenda through over the last 2 years. Will the Republican Party commit to these laws these initiatives being attached to must-pass bills, so when they count in those must-pass bills, you can do something more than these messaging bills?
Yeah, and it gets down to those must-pass bills like the debt ceiling, like the appropriations and spending bills. What we have to do is we have to get the legislation passed through the House. Once we get it passed through the House, then these important votes and legislation that we're passing can then be attached to, like I said, either required debt ceiling increases or getting the government funded.
All right, very well. That's a good point of order to know, sir. Congressman Rick Allen, appreciate the visit, sir. Come back anytime.
Hey guys, it's Rob Carson. Your retirement funds are being threatened with even more losses from record inflation, recession, and skyrocketing interest rates. Fortunately, the highly trained specialists at American Hartford Gold can show you how to protect your savings and retirement accounts by diversifying your portfolio with physical gold and silver. If you call them right now as a special offer, they will give you a free gold coin on your first qualifying order, so don't wait. Call 866-935-4309. That's 866-935-4309, or text Newsmax to 65532. That's Newsmax to 65532.